Welcome back to Adobe Lightroom Classic, and today we're just going to finish looking at masking. And so last week we took a look at a couple of the AI features in masking. Today we're going to take a look at the rest of the different options inside of the program. So masking and understanding a mask is kind of a key element in photography. Most adjustments are selective, meaning that we localize them to a specific area, because a lot of times what you're trying to do is either create contrast or even out an image. So today we're going to jump on over to Lightroom and take a look at masking inside of Lightroom. Welcome back to Adobe Lightroom Classic, and today we're going to further dive into masking inside of the program. But the first thing we're going to do is I have some images already on a hard drive. And so I showed you before how to import images from a SD card and then move them over to a hard drive. But what if you have the images on your computer? You just can't work with them. You actually have to import them into the catalog. So what we're going to do is we are going to navigate to that. And so it's going to be a little complicated here, but we're going to get to it. And then we went downloads and then masking 3 right here. All right, so these are the images that we've selected, and you'll notice right up here we are using add. And the only thing this is going to do is just add these to the catalog. We're not going to rename them. We're not doing anything. We've got some options over here when we do that, but we're just going to hit import and we are going to be good to go. So these are going to import them into the catalog, and now we can work on these raw files inside of the program. All right, so I've got this woman right here. We're going to click on the single view and we're going to slide on over to the develop module. Now, just like I told you before, whenever you start working with an image, the first thing you should do are these global adjustments, and most importantly, go ahead and start with the white balance. But we're going to skip that today because this is a tutorial and I want to show you how to use more masking options. So we're going to click on masking and bring this up. So last time we took a look at subject, sky, and background, and we might take a little bit of a look at those later. But as you can see here, we've got landscape, objects, brush, linear gradient, radial gradient, range, which includes color and luminosity, and people. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at landscape. So let's go ahead and slide on over to this image because this is a landscape. So there's multiple ways to adjust this image. And one of them would simply be just to come in here and select the sky because, well, this is a sky and it's going to select the sky and we could make the adjustment. I'm just going to hit Command Z to back out of that. Now, another option that we have is down here is called linear gradient. And linear gradient is kind of the older way that we used to do this. And it still works good, and it really is dependent on what you're trying to do. But I'm going to show you how to use it. You can see the quick key is the letter M that we see over here. I'm going to click on this, and we're simply going to drag this gradient down. Remember, the red is showing us where this is going to start. And I can move this around if I want, if I don't want to go down that far. Come here and slide that up to just about there. And so in this gradient, it's a linear gradient. You can see we're going to do more here, so more of the adjustment here, and then it's going to blend it and fade it out just like a feather would on the program. And if I come in here, I'll just make this dark so you can see what's happening. So we're darkening this area more and this area less, which is something that actually looks better in an image. If you usually darken a sky evenly the whole way, it just doesn't look realistic. Actually, this linear gradient idea can work really well for a sky, but you could use the sky. It sort of uses artificial intelligence and does the same things. But I brought this image up for a specific reason, because after we've made that adjustment, we have this mask. So now that I've made this adjustment, I now want to select this area because I want to adjust it. So there's no real select foreground over there, but what we have is we can use that duplicate and invert. So we're going to come over here to the 3 little dots and we're going to select those and we're going to do duplicate and invert mask. And now we just essentially are selecting the same thing. Now look, it didn't get it perfect, so we can just adjust it and to get it how we want it to look. And then I could come over here and I could either brighten or darken that area depending on what I wanted to do with the image. So we have two different masks affecting completely different areas. So we're going to come over here to our subject here, and we have selected this woman here. So we learned before we can hit select subject, it's going to select her out pretty good. But one of the things that happens when you do these AI selections is they can take a little bit to happen. So before I know, I showed you the brush, and I'm just going to hit the letter K as in Catherine, spelled with a K though, and that's going to automatically bring up the brush. And I want you to see how fast and easy this is to use. So we're just going to adjust that area of our subject, and then this will let me affect that area. She's actually exposed pretty well, so I don't really need to do too much to it. So I can just open the highlights up a little bit. But you can see that brush is really quick and easy to adjust the subject. So sometimes it's just a speed thing when you're trying to decide which ones you want to use in an image like this. So right here we have our subject, sky, and background. So what sky and background are going to differentiate is sky is going to actually select the sky of this image and let us adjust it, as you can see. And we'll just hit Command Z to go back. And background might select more. So it's just recognizing the subject that's in focus and it's selecting everything else. So in this case, you wouldn't want to select the background if you didn't want to select this much here, but it gives you two completely different options when you do that. So let's slide on over to this image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into objects. And so we have this subject here. And if you look up here, we're got two ways to apply this. One is kind of like a brush where we make a selection, and the other is a rectangle. So since this isn't a geometric object, I think this brush is going to be a lot better. I can control my brush size. And essentially all I have to do is paint on the subject, and you're going to be like, oh, well, why wouldn't you just use subject? Well, I would. But I want to show you how objects work. They let you paint over an area, and then the computer is able to identify it and make that selection. So if we come to an image like this, I can come up to objects and I can make this brush smaller, and I can just say, hey, just select this little thing right there. It's going to go through and boom, just like that. Now, if I want to select more of that area, hit Command Z to undo that. We're going to hit objects again. This time we're going to use this kind of rectangular thing here, and it's just a rectangular selection tool. We'll select it, and we're saying, hey, that's the subject I want you to just try to select out. And you can see it did a pretty good job. It didn't get everything. We would need to go in here and manually maybe make some other selections using the brush to kind of identify the other aspects that it missed. Hey, if you're looking for something new to wear, I have a company called T-Lab Designs where I design custom t-shirts and apparel. We make stuff for adults and children. So we're going to come here to our subjects here, and we're going to come down here to people, because you're going to see it right here. It's saying, hey, I'm detecting people. So what people does is it actually identifies all the subjects in your photo. So if you had 4, you're going to see 4 different people here. And this is going to allow us to select all the people. So both of them, you can see they're turning red. One of the subjects or the other subject. So for right now, we will just select this guy. Because once you make this selection, you can further, because once you make this selection, we have other options. So if we don't want to select the entire person, like we see here, we can turn that off. If I just want to do his clothes, I can come down here and select this, and it's just going to do his clothes. Now you can see it didn't get it perfect, but that's something that we could refine. If we wanted to just do his facial hair, we can do that. So we have the ability to do facial skin, body skin, eyebrows, lips, facial hair, and clothes. And if people are looking at you, it's going to do the eyes, the whites of the eyes. So you're going to get more options. But in this case, it's not really identifying eyes because the people are sideways. What we can do here is I can just come to this person. You'll see it will select her. We'll click on her, and then we'll be able to see all the different options that you would get for a forward-facing subject. So now you can see we've got body skin, eyebrow, we've got the whites of the eyes, the iris, the pupil, the lips, the hair, and the clothes. So it can really identify a whole bunch of different aspects of a subject. So in this image, I'm going to come in here and we're going to select actually both people, and I just want the entire person. So we're going to create that mask, all right? Now it's selected a little bit of this. So we're going to come in here and we're going to hit subtract with the brush. Make this way smaller. Some of that was just red, but there was part of a selection in there. Now, in this image, what we're going to do is we're going to just brighten them a little bit so they're a little bit brighter. All right, let's warm them up because it's a little cool. All right. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to say, I don't really want to, but I'm going to darken this background. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to understand you really need to think how the computer works sometimes to make a selection. I could use the linear gradient, and if I did that, it would just gradate everything, even the subjects. However, since I've made this selection right here, what I can do is select the inverse like we did before. So here, invert and select duplicate. So now we're selecting that whole background. But what I'm going to do is add a mask to this image so that we select this area, not this area, but we also don't select the people. And the only way this works is if we go through this process, because we selected the people first, and then we're going to add a mask onto it. So we're going to come in here, we're going to subtract, and we're going to use a linear gradient. And I'm not sure if I'm going the right way. I am. So this looks pretty good. Grab this and slide it up. And so this is going to let me this area, not this area. We see the gradient, but the people aren't selected as well. So a normal linear gradient would get the subjects as well. So if I come in here, it's just selecting those people. So in this image, we made that initial select the subjects, then we inverted it and we just added a gradient to kind of blend that in. All right, so we're back here with this image and we're gonna click on range. And so our first option is color range. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and select our subject here. And you can see it picked her hat, but it also picked this area here. So right up here, we have this little slider, and this slider will determine the sensitivity of how accurate the selection is being. So if I go this way, it's gonna remove an area. If this way, it's add to it. So I can slide this back so I can just get that hat. Now you can see in this image, it's still picking this area up, which is not what I want. So even though we're getting this selection, it's not perfect, all right? And so if we wanted to add to that selection, I can come in here and just say add, and then I can hit color range, and we can add another color, which is a little bit darker, and we can click on that. And just like before, we're gonna have to slide that back out and try to get an accurate selection. That did pretty good here for this. We could paint that out, paint that out, paint that out, paint that out. Just a brush if we wanted, and that would be a pretty good accurate image. Color selection is helpful. Look, color selection looks really good when you have like a big, bright, solid color, especially like a graphic. I don't tend to use it very much. We used to have to use it a lot in landscapes and things like that, but now the AI selections are so good, this really doesn't come into effect too much. We select a color, we can select it, we can add and subtract to the colors, whatever you want. So let's just go ahead and go back. All right, we have the ability to select with a luminance range, just like we did before. So we can come in here and click that area. You can see it worked. It picked this area perfect, but it also got our subject here, which is what we don't want. So the cool thing is we know the subject we don't want. So then we could go subtract subject, and it's going to subtract that out of the image, and we should be good to go with just this area selected here. So a lot of you are going to ask, well, why didn't I just use pick sky? Well, I normally would have. I'm just trying to show you how this works. Also notice we still have a little bit of area in here selected, so we need to paint that out. So just like color range, this works. It isn't perfect because if there's other values that are the same in the image, it sort of selects those as well. And a lot of times you can spend as much time taking something out as you can adding it. All right, so I've brought this image up again. We're going to come up here, and the last thing we're going to take a look at is landscape. This is just another AI selection. This is a newer one, and you're going to see what it's going to do. It's going to be very similar to what it did with the people selection. So over here, and if we hover over them, it might turn red. So we've got sky, mountains, water, and natural ground. So if I click on sky, it's going to select the sky. If I click on mountains, it's going to select the mountains. It thinks that's water, so it's going to select that, and natural ground, it's going to select that as well. In this case, if I just want the sky, I just select that. I hit create mask, and just like that, we're adjusting that area. So these are our masking options inside of Adobe Lightroom Classic. The thing I can tell you the most is practice with these, get used to them. Look, I don't use them all. I have ones that I like, and those are the ones that I usually deal with. Occasionally I can't do something and I'll try and use something else to get it. But I pretty much love subject, sky, and the brush. And those are mainly what I use inside of the program. So practice around, find out what you like and works best for you, and that's what you should use in your work. Well, that's it for this video on masking. Hey, don't forget, if you have any comments or questions, you can leave those below. Give us a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and have an absolutely wonderful day.